Oh, it's not recording. Now it's recording. There it goes. It's not a Zoom. Don't worry, it's not a Zoom meeting. It's I forget what we call this. Screencastify. If you could please get yourselves onto Yearbook Avenue as quickly as you can and logged in and so forth, and I'll walk you through. Recording this mostly for Lily, who's not here, but also for anybody that's in Y Club that's interested and would like to either help you or take on a page themselves.
Are we vlogging right now?
Okay, get on there. We're vlogging. Okay, once you get on there.
Wait, where is it? There we go.
Yeah, hi Reagan.
Hi guys.
Are y'all, except for Reagan, I know she's not. Are y'all on Yearbook Avenue yet? Okay, I would show you this in a different program like Lucid Press if you were in 8th grade STEAM, or maybe if you were in commercial art. But this is Yearbook, so we're using the real deal. Right? So what we're going to do, because you have chosen different pages, and I don't want to do your pages for you, is I'm going to check and see what is something that a folder or a team or organization, class, a club that we have a lot of pictures for. Okay, and so look in activities, and you know what? I think I might just do a junior high football. I'm thinking, because I have lots of those. Yeah, I have like 36. I have a lot of high school football pictures, but I think one of you or a couple of you might have decided you wanted to choose that. So we're going to go to plan and go to ladder. Remember, for those of you that are Y Club, ladder is, in a lot of ways, it's kind of like a table of contents, or it's a map. And you notice we haven't got a darn burned thing on here yet. Okay, we do have some assignments, like we're going to have girls junior high basketball there, junior class there. Some of these we're going to need to adjust a little bit. I just had staffers doing this as grunt work, but okay, so middle school football, found it. I'm going to do one page instead of two. Usually I teach a 2-page spread if I'm doing Lucid Press, like in commercial art. But when you open it, you're going to notice that it comes with 2 pages, because our um, 004.
Yeah, 00497.
Anyway, going to point the other way. Hey, the left-hand page, which should be even number, that's going to be your middle school football. And then this one that's closer here should be the odd number, is going to be our middle school volleyball, if I'm not mistaken. So we don't necessarily have to worry about it over here on the right side. We're just going to worry about on the left side. Okay. Now, first thing I'm going to show you, and I'll put this over on the right side where the volleyball pages are going to be. Notice we got our pages, which is our ladder. Okay, we have photos, and we'll find those in a couple of seconds. Got unusual shapes. We've got text. We've got page flow, which we'll worry about when we get to class pages. We don't have to worry about that right now. Layers is a little bit new to me, so I'm going to have to figure out what, maybe I have to ask our rep what is meant by that. And I don't remember them having that last year. And page history is basically our old versions are, there's nothing on there yet, right? So we don't have to worry about that. Anyway, I'm going to go to text, and I'm going to drag a headline over here. And the reason I'm going to do that is I'm not using this to make the page. I'm using this to make some notes. Okay. Here are 6 steps that you're going to go through for laying out a traditional style page. Okay. So step 1 is going to be placing an anchor image, or sometimes it's called a center of visual interest, CVI. Okay. In fact, maybe I'll make these even bigger so you can see them. Instead of 24, let's go double that, 48. There, you can see that now, can't you? Good. And I also have this extra, don't know what that character is. It's a backslash. I need to get rid of that. Okay. Step number 2 is going to be placing an eye line, sometimes called the eye flow line. Okay, and we'll talk about that when we get to it. Step 3 is going to be headline, and we'll talk about that when we get to it. And that really ends up being a whole different unit. The unit that we're starting today is on layout, and there are notes and there's some reading that I can give you, but I want us to actually do it because then you can start on your pages for real. Okay. So then step 4 is going to be placing more pictures, secondary photos, we'll call them. Step 5 is going to be tertiary photos. It's kind of a third level. Okay, and then step 6, we're going to finally come in and put our captions, sometimes known as cut lines, in there. So I'm leaving this over here on the right hand side because we're going to replace this. This is going to be on the right hand side is going to be volleyball, but I'm even going to go ahead and hit save because if you ever need it until we get the middle school volleyball page done, you can go back. Okay, it'd be great for you to write these in some kind of notes, but if you try and get them into your head, hopefully that'll be good enough. But we're going to follow these steps, and if we follow these steps, then maybe you're a little more likely to kind of have them in your head. Okay, so I could go with live pictures, with the real pictures, because I have them. Right, I go back to here, and I change from visual art down to sports and find the middle school football, and here we have a bunch of pictures. But I want you to learn how to design, okay, and then place photos. So design first and think of it as design. So we're going to go here to where it's image frames, okay? And we choose image frames, and as you can see, there's goofy, weird things that you could come up with. Let's be boring today. Let's just be a little traditional. Okay. In fact, I would suggest that you probably don't want these unusual things like diamonds and pentagons and hexagons and polygonals until you get into your tertiary pictures, the small pictures. And those are really good for like quotes, right? For like who's your captains or what have you. One of the things that we should talk about is I'll give a little arrow hierarchy, and I always misspell that. It's I before E. Hierarchy. Think of hierarchy as a vocab term. Okay, it's not necessarily an order. So it's a term. And what hierarchy means is prioritizing. Okay, so the higher on the page it is, the more exciting or more important it is, and the bigger it is, the more important it is. So the other thing is that using hierarchy is not just about storytelling, like I want you to look at this first and then that and then that. Okay, but yeah, it's a visual thing. It helps with structure that we look at the anchor first, and we can build our whole rest of our design based on that, and it's going to be like putting up the mast. You got to have the pole first before you can put the sail on it. I don't know if that makes a whole truckload of sense, but anyway, let's get to it. So number 1, we're going to drag one of these squares over here, and well, I thought we were. Why did it not drag? There we go. Okay, and this would be too small, right? This is like just medium size. One thing I might want to think about is, what should be a big picture? Could be that I want my group picture, my team picture to be the biggest. That way I can make out everybody's faces. But what really is going to draw people's attention, make them want to look at the page, is probably an action picture. Okay, so you kind of want to trust and hope that we have something that's pretty decent. And football, usually, if they're catching or running or kicking, it's likely going to be vertical. if you're lining up at the line of scrimmage, or you're punting, or you are tackling, a lot of times it's going to be horizontal. So I want to start with a vertical, even though in basketball, a lot of times you're a lot more likely to have a vertical, and you're more likely to have a horizontal in football. Um, but I can change this. I can go back, and I can make it into a horizontal later if I have to, if I don't find a good picture to fit here. But I make it pretty big. Okay, it's not quite the whole quarter size of the page. Now I can do that, but I I want to, if I have like 36 pictures, I want to try and fit as many pictures as I can on here. So I don't want it to be so huge. But what I do want to try and keep in mind is that this anchor picture should probably end up being bigger than everything else. Okay. Now, if I was going to make this a spread, which I don't have to, okay, this is why I'm going to change the, I don't want to change the lowercase. I want to change color here. Here we go. Instead of making this red, let's make this blue, because number 2 is a rule for a 2-page spread. And I'm going to have 2 pages that need to relate to each other, but I don't have 2 pages that are about the same thing. Okay? Totally asleep yet, Reagan? But here's what I would do. I go up here to the ruler. See what I did there? And I grab an invisible line. Notice it's cyan. It's like light blue. Okay? That's because it's not going to show up on the final when I really print it. But this is what I would usually do. I choose either the bottom or the top of my anchor picture, and I create this line that can tie these 2 pages together. Okay? So, like, for instance, if I use my photo as if I am a dominant picture, if this was an anchor picture, okay, these two can kind of relate to each other because they're aligned. They're on that same line, right? I don't know if that makes any sense, if you're following me. But what that empty space is going to do, and if you zoom in, you can kind of see that each of these little squares is called a pica. It's about a sixth of an inch. I know on English rulers, you're used to dealing with like an eighth of an inch, and then quarters and halves and the whole inch. But there are 12 points in a pica, and yeah, 6 picas in an inch, and 72 points in an inch. And these are things that you'll learn in your notes when we deal with that for this unit. But basically, I'm thinking that this line, this eye line or eye flow line, should be about a pica deep. You can make it 2 picas deep, but you probably shouldn't be a lot deeper than that. But it's going to do a number of things. One, it's kind of like a belt that ties these 2 pages together. If you think about 2 people wearing 1 pair of pants for a 3-legged race, or 2 little kids that are fighting and their parents want them to get along, so they put them in a giant oversized sweater, a get-along shirt. Have you ever seen those? No. Well, anyway, you would tie those 2 pages together. But we don't necessarily have to worry about that so much, since we're just dealing with 1 page at a time. So now we'll go to headlines. So we go back to the text, and we think in terms of our theme, right? So our theme is what? You remind me. It is what it is. Okay? So how can you figure out something with that theme with junior high football? And by the way, kind of like our varsity team, these 7th and 8th grade boys are doing all right this year. I'm pretty sure they're undefeated. So it is what? It is a football thing. Football is what it is. Well, anyway, we don't have to write it right now. We just have to design it. Okay. So kind of like with that picture, there's no picture there. It's just big blue box. We're going to drag And I always recommend you do that because watch what will happen if you don't drag. If you just click on it, see where it went, it's just up here in the corner. Okay. And that's not so bad, but I like to drag it to about where I want to put it. And I'll zoom in again because here's another a very important thing. Okay. This headline has to do with that picture. Right? So I don't want my headline to be way far away from it. Other thing, though, I don't want is I don't want it to overlap, nor do I want it to butt up right to it. I want to be a good one pica, but not more, one pica away from it. Okay? So that's all I have to do is be about a pica away from it. I can highlight this now, and I can come over here, and since it is to the, let me point correctly, since it is to the left of the picture, I want it to be flush right. Okay, so that the jagged side is going to be over on that left part, and the straight streamlined part is going to be right up by the picture. Okay, and what I could consider doing, in fact, I probably should consider doing this, is grabbing a subhead. Okay, so this creates a sense of hierarchy. And this needs to be not butting up to it, not overlapping it. But guess what? One pica below the headline. And again, I should probably make this flush right with my picture. I'll zoom back out and you can see how that looks. Okay, so check one. Place the anchor picture. Done. So I don't know what. I wish we had a green. Make it like aqua. Nah, that's too close to the other one. Whatever. Purple. It's homecoming week. So we got an anchor. Now we got a headline. Make it purple to prove that it's done. There, used. Okay. So now we're going to go to the secondary photos. So go back to this box again and picture frames. And I want some variety. Okay. Whoop, too close. Got to be about a pico away. And so what I might do is say I hit Control C and Control V. So now the variety is that I've got a couple of horizontals. And if I Control V again, I don't want all horizontals. I want at least one vertical. So I'm going to change that so it's a vertical. But notice that these are about half the size. Okay, for um, secondary photos, I don't want them to compete for attention with the big one, so I need to make them at least half as big as the big one. And in fact, I am thinking that I might want these even smaller. So you can, if you hold down Shift, you can grab two photos at a time. And then if you hold down Shift when you drag them, you can keep the what's the word I'm looking for? You're not going to skew them. You're going to keep the proportions, but change the size, right? And so I am just monkeying around. This should be up just a skosh, right? There we go. Again, if I click both of these at the same time and I hit Shift, now if I were to drag these, I don't want them any smaller. I want them pretty much the exact same size if I can help it as those last ones. So stretch them a little bit and then rotate them back because these are verticals. Okay. So now I've got my secondary photos. So check that off for myself. Gotten 4 out of 6 steps. Notice that everything is one pica apart. Okay, which brings me to another term, and that term is proximity. And another term after that, in fact, would be unity. Proximity means they're how close or far they are apart, right? So my hands get closer together, there's more proximity. Further apart, and there's less proximity. When you're buying a house, how close is it to amenities? How close is it to work? How close is it to a school if I've got kids? How close is it to stores or entertainment venues or a place to go walking for my dogs, whatever? Now, I want to know the proximity to those things. And realtors always say, right, location, location, location. So if we have these pictures spread out, here's what's going to happen. I have disunity. They don't look as organized. They look like they're thrown together. Okay? So whenever you want to undo something, Control Z is how you go back, you undo. Okay? So, but when they're closer together, that creates a sense of unity. People looking at this page say, oh, these belong together. Okay? If we're dealing with a newspaper or magazine or a website instead of a yearbook, you might have three different things on your page instead of all being junior high football. Okay. And you don't want people to confuse the headline that goes with junior high football with the headline that goes with junior high volleyball. So proximity and unity, these are kind of important things. All right. So now tertiary. And so now is the time where if you want to have a little accent, maybe you want a picture of the one of the coaches. Okay. Maybe you want to have a picture that is shaped like a football. Maybe you don't like either of those. Maybe you have some guys that have been working together. But bottom line is, you want to go smaller, and again, probably like half the size of your secondary photos, right? And you don't have to do exactly as I'm doing, but you could make it work by having all squares or all circles. You don't absolutely have to. You could decide that what you want to do is, again, have some variety. And oops, I didn't mean to do that. Z, Control C, Control V, and have some of these be vertical and some of them be square or some of them be horizontal, even whatever. Uh, and if you get watching and experimenting and playing, and I really want you to do that, um, you look around and you don't necessarily have to do things exactly the same way that I have been doing them. Should be, I can group things, I can layer things. Um, oh, wait, we got stuff in the way. Yeah, I can start to rotate things by degrees if I want them to have diagonals, and I think that what I'm looking for, I'm not finding off the top of my head because I haven't used this for about a year and they've got some updates and changes, is how you can get like a couple of things to align to each other. Now you can align them on top, align them on bottom, align them whatever. Okay, so now I got my tertiary photos, and I've totally put you to sleep. I'm so sorry. Once you get doing this yourself, hopefully it'll be a little bit more fun. The most fun is once you change what you started with. Okay, because some people think you got it. Now I'm stuck with this. No, you're not, because I can move this. I can move other stuff. As I said before, I can change that into a horizontal. I can make it bigger. I can make it smaller. Okay, you can keep changing stuff as you go. Okay, and that's part of the fun. You can also grab everything and move everything. I want to have more space, less proximity between junior high boys football and junior high girls football. So now there's going to be some empty space in the gutter to separate those two. Okay? But now I'm going to go to the captions, and I'll try and speed things up a little bit for you. Okay? Generally, if you're going to have a single caption, I better zoom in so you can see this, because when I teach this commercial art class, and especially when I was teaching it to eighth graders, totally louse that up. Again, with the proximity, be about one pica below. Okay, and I can show you by bringing these guidelines across here, but which I'll get rid of. I don't want to leave these guidelines here, but watch what I do. When I click on the caption, I want to drag it so that it fits underneath the picture. Okay, there used to be a way. I don't know if I if I right click it, they have a thing called add placeholder text. Love it. It's called lorem ipsum, and it's Latin, and it basically is just nonsense words that you're going to end up replacing. Right? But it's really pretty useful because it tells you exactly where that caption, where you're going to have something. Notice it's about 10-point type. You probably don't want any bigger than that. If you select it all, again, you can maybe choose. Now, I suggest choosing this for under pictures. Justify. Okay, and now if I click on it to choose it like it's a graphic instead of text, I can do just like I did with the blue boxes, Control C and Control V, and so now I have another caption, same width. Notice that there is, a pica between them, but I got to be careful to make sure that this is a pica below the picture above it and not two picas below. There we go. I can get rid of these guidelines if I really wanted to. But there's a couple of different kinds of captions, and we'll get to that later in the year, in fact. But you're going to have a single caption underneath an image and try to make it the same width, right? Uh, so I could do this same thing over these two, but shrink your width. And why is it red? Well, you can kind of guess. It goes with that red X because there's more than is showing. And since you're just doing the designing, you're not actually writing yet, you're not actually putting pictures yet, it really goes faster than this video is, faster than this class period is going, right? Now, in order to fit, I'm going to go ahead and select my these three pictures and my headline. And you can do this either with your mouse or you can click it with the cursor tools like I've been doing. But when you have captions that are next to pictures, okay, kind of like with headlines, you don't want it to be justified. You want it to be flush left or flush right. And here's the rule. If it's to the left of the picture, it should be flush right. If it's to the right of the picture, it should be flush left. Okay, that helps with kind of the proximity thing. Again, um, great to add like placeholder text, and it's going to fill that whole space where I designed my box. When you do that lorem ipsum, I love that. I'm like addicted to it. Okay, and I don't know that it says anything. You could take it to Google Translate from Latin to English and copy and paste it and see what it says, but it's probably going to just say, something boring like "quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog," or I don't know. But this is like 500 years old that people in the publishing game and printing have used that sort of thing. So now, a couple of real important rules that I want you to keep in mind. And I'm not necessarily putting them over here on the notes with these terms like hierarchy and proximity and unity. But we don't ever want to trap white space. Okay? And all of our our extra white space needs to be on the outside. So we're doing okay because they're top, this side, and that actually kind of brings us in to the page, and the bottom brings us in. So it looks like all of ours is kind of on the outside. One thing though, you might, look at it and say, well, maybe it is okay if it relates. Maybe I'll even mirror this page for junior high volleyball. Okay, and I show you how to do that. I just take this off that page. Okay, grab all of this and hit Control C and Control V, and here I have it. But I probably should look under Transform, and I could rotate. Um, here we go. I found all that align kind of stuff. That's great. I can flip. Is it flip that I want to do? Oh, let's see. It's not going to let me because I've got it all chosen as if it's one thing. So actually, if I do choose it, and it's not letting me group. I wonder if it's not going to let me group because, well, anyway, you might have to fight your way through to figuring it out since I'm the one who is supposed to have done this for years and I'm not finding it super fast. But trust me, there's supposed to be a way that you could just mirror what you already designed, but it's not that crazy hard to copy and move this stuff around a little bit. And basically, what I told you, this would be trapped white space, right? And I don't want that trapped. So I move these in and I bring this over. And as I said before, so the rule is if it's to the right of the image, then it needs to be flush left. And the same thing would go for these headlines. So flush left them. Looks like I still got to do that to the subhead. Oh, it already is. It just needs to get moved. Anyway, okay. So, and I don't have to leave these this way. These two pages don't have to be mirrored. But it might not hurt to have them be kind of similar, what have you. But white space on the outside, don't trap white space. Think of it like it's a speed bump. As your viewers are coming through, if they hit a trapped pocket of white space, it disrupts the flow. So now comes the real fun, right? I can look at my pictures and try and decide, what do I want? What's going to fit into what boxes? And I'm lucky that I have some far away ones that I took and a lot of closer ones that Sherry Haas took. And odds are I'm going to want to leave one of these for my group photo unless I change my mind and decide that I want my group photo to, I want my vertical, I want my anchor to be the group photo. um, Here's something to keep in mind. Pretty important. Is iFlow has a lot to do with the direction of action or the direction of people's eyes. And what's great, if I get a picture like this, I can enlarge it. But if I double click on it, I can crop it. So I can fit the picture in my box. Hope that you saw that because that is a real cool gimmick that Josten's LayoutPro lets us do. Um, you know, one thing about choosing just one person instead of two for my large size is sometimes you might get somebody kind of mad that why do they get to be the dominant picture? So you may want to think about. But notice a little bit of my placement. So these guys are going into the page. This guy is going out. So, for instance, this would be bad because we look at him and we want to follow his eyes and we want to follow the action, and it takes us off the page. And we don't want to do that. We want everything to take us either to the center of the page, to our headline, or to our dominant image. Okay, that's the flow, the eye flow. We want everything to take us to the center of the page, to the anchor image, or to the headline. One of those three places. Okay, so here's another one where the action is moving to the from right to left, and I want our guy and not their guy, so I move it a little bit. Okay, these are always good. Although, remember, it might be that this is going to be my group picture. So maybe I hit backspace or delete because I don't want that there. And the other thing is, I'm not stuck like I told you before. Hey, I'm not stuck with what I did in blue boxes. If it's important to me to have this nice picture of the huddle, there you go. Okay, just like I changed this one from being vertical to being square. Now we get to where we're writing a headline or we're writing a caption. Okay, one thing is, and as I said, we'll get to and we'll learn about these captions in later in the year, but I would say that if this caption is going to go for 1, 2, 3 pictures, that's called a collective caption. Did I lose you? I know you're falling asleep. But I hope that you're gonna be doing this, and you can come back to this video if you forget how to do it, or when you're or play smart, Alec. When you're not falling asleep the second time, because when it's uploaded, you can speed through the boring stuff. Okay, but if this one caption, more than one picture, it's a collective caption as opposed to individual caption. But there's our bell. So that is some design basics. You guys have a great afternoon. Thank you for your patience. See you.